Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Soul Seekers podcast, where we believe that hunting has the power to transform lives through primal adventure as we share our mission of mentorship is conservation. To learn more about everything we do, check out our show on Carbon TV or go to soulseekersnation.com. Freedom on, everybody, and stay soulful. If you want to take your shooting experience to the next level, then check out Coltac gear for 100% made in America products. Coltac manufactures specialty gear designed for long-range shooting, hunting, and other tactical applications. From their support bags, suppressor covers, shooting mats, and a whole lot more, Coltac is creating tough, durable, and innovative gear for both civilian and professional markets. Go to coltac.com to see all that they have to offer. That's cole-tac.com. If you are wanting to become more accurate and deadly with your shooting, one of the best things you can do is upgrade your trigger with a Timney. Timney triggers are 100% made in America and have been since their founding, providing a crisp, reliable, and repeatable trigger break every time. I'll be shooting Timney triggers in my guns this year, and I hope you'll join me in shooting the world's finest trigger. Go to timneytriggers.com to get yours today. If you're looking to take your hunting to another level, there's no better way to do it than by subscribing to onX Hunt. If you want to get better at hunting and go deeper into your scouting, onX is the #1 GPS app for that. Join the millions of hunters who trust onX Hunt to find more game, discover new access, and hunt smarter. If you want to know more about onX, go to onxmaps.com/hunt or download their app today for a free trial. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Soul Seekers podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Mack, and today's episode is one for all of you who have ever dreamed of manifest destiny and going west. From sea to shining sea and all the way up to the tip tops of the mountains, we're talking about hunting west, planning hunts, and being a better human being, spreading the gospel of hunting and everything in between. Our guest is Jaden Bales of the Hunt West Planning Company, and we're going to be diving into all sorts of topics tonight. Jaden, thanks for coming on the show, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to sit down and hash it up with you.
Dude, it is good. It's a long time coming. You know, I feel like since getting into podcasting, it is the perfect networking tool, and I'm so surprised that you and I haven't crossed paths prior to this.
Well, it's kind of funny, man. I have only started going to more shows in the last year or so. I was so head down doing my 9 to 5 and just being focused on, with my time off, spending it in the mountains, that I just started kind of branching out more recently as far as like going into social settings and networking. So, yeah, but we got a big show season this year, so I'll probably see a bunch more folks. And like we were just talking about before the podcast, I'll see you at Western Hunt Expo, and I'm really excited. It's going to be fun to go see people in person, not just through a screen.
Yeah. What was your 9 to 5, or what is your 9 to 5?
Yeah. So for a long time, I worked for the Wyoming Wildlife Federation as their communications director. Had a few jobs before that too, but let's see, it would be August of 2024. Yeah, I went full time with the Hunt West Planning Company. I do quite a bit of guiding in the fall, and obviously that kind of helps make ends meet through the fall. It also is a dang good excuse to go check out some different hunts and go on tags that I didn't have to draw myself. So yeah, that's basically it though. For the last year and a half, I've been full time with this.
What's really interesting is as I've gotten into more, grounding with hunting and the history of hunting and all that, a lot of people that when they come to being considered very knowledgeable about hunting spend a lot of time as guides. Do you find that to be the same experience?
Yeah, and it's I think it's sometimes a chicken or the egg problem, because I know a lot of guides who start off guiding and then they're like, okay, now I'm knowledgeable and I can share about it. And then I also know a lot of people, which is probably more the bucket that I fit in, where we got so obsessed with hunting that we moved into guiding just because it was kind of the next natural avenue to share it with people and to take people out. I know before I got guiding, and I know a bunch of guys like this who I would just try to find hunts that if I had tags filled, I would try to find friends or friends of friends who had tags in like different times of the year and try to either take them out or go along with them. And, in ways you're kind of acting like a guide back then too.
Right.
So yeah, it's a natural progression, I think, for a lot of people who are just like neck deep in it.
It's so funny. I get asked quite often, hey, you ever thought about guiding? You ever thought about
Mhm.
guiding? I'm like, and you and I are going to dive down this talk, this rabbit hole of the difference between mentorship and mentoring somebody and then
Mhm.
guiding them. Because
Mhm.
there is a huge mental block for society on being, especially when it comes to hunting, right?
Mhm.
Oh, mentoring somebody, well, that means I'm going to have to take them to my spot. Or
Mhm.
then, I don't want to burn locations or, you name it, whatever it could be. And
Mhm.
yet, mentoring is not necessarily taking somebody hunting. However, a lot of the times here at Soul Seekers over the years, my goal is to at least take out one brand new hunter every single year and show them an experience. And a lot of the times, the biggest scare that I find is people don't know where to hunt and then what to do once an animal's down.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so if you can bridge those gaps and teach them like, hey man, this rabbit, I know it's not a deer. I know it's not a big animal with antlers or whatever, but like the anatomy is the exact same. So let's break it down, gutless method, or let's split it open and gut it out. And there's a lot of ways to mentor people without it having to be one specific style hunt. Everyone always thinks like, I want to get into hunting. They think deer hunting, right? Like they think big game,
Mhm.
but it doesn't have to be that. What's your take?
Yeah, man. I just as you're talking about that, I think a lot of folks like me, maybe who grew up um, like the more traditional way, our dads and grandparents like would take us out. Like we went through that progression. The vast majority of people who I know who started as kids like went through the progression of first you're going rabbit hunting or dove hunting or duck hunting or whatever, and then you move into turkey hunting, and then you're moving into maybe your first deer hunt, and then you go on and on and on, right? And it's like this long progression that I think a lot of people who get into hunting as adults might might skip over because they just see like, okay, well, deer or elk or whatever is going to provide the most meat in the freezer. That's my first priority.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it can be really hard. I've been on multiple hunts with people for their first big game animal where it's overwhelming, to have a big animal on the ground. And like, honestly, there's a gravity for people that is different when you shoot a deer or something like that versus like a bird or a rabbit or small game. So I do think like, yeah, when we're talking to like newer hunters, especially those smaller game animals, like a much better place to start, much more forgiving place to start. And especially when it comes to handling firearms, like I would much rather someone start with one of those things where you have a lot of opportunity, you can practice without so much pressure at actually like taking the shot. Because that's oftentimes where I see people fall apart. Even people who are quote unquote experienced will fall apart at the moment of shooting at a deer or an elk or a pronghorn or a bear because it's like it has so much weight, so much impact when they do pull the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it's people literally have been hunting their whole lives are still falling apart and
Right.
not doing the right thing.
Right.
So if you're starting hunting, man, take some of that pressure off.
Yeah, it's a really good idea. I think the biggest thing when it comes to adults getting into hunting and wanting to dive in is bang for the buck, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, I could spend a whole day hunting and get one big animal, or I could spend a whole day hunting and get a couple small ones that don't feed the family or, it doesn't last as long. But that's just my mindset. I've also encountered a lot of people, and this is segueing a little bit into the whole idea of like guiding versus mentoring,
Uh-huh.
where I, to this day I've never killed a mule deer like that. I've been hunting. Well, shoot, 2017 was my first big game animal. So 9 years I've been hunting, 10 years, I guess, a decade of hunting. Never shot a mule deer. Lived in the state of Washington. You have all what three types of deer running around there, but never had an opportunity to get a mule deer. Except there was this one time I did actually have an opportunity, and I was mentoring a guy, and I did not shoot. I wanted him to shoot, but he was so loud and slow. And, I'm going to throw shade under the bus right here and be like, hey, man, that deer should have died. And he never even got a shot off. And he told me, he's like, yeah, man, I would have been really upset if you would have shot that deer instead of me. And I was like, ooh, that's a hard one to hear, right? Especially when in the state of Washington, where, modern rifle season's 13 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not taking a week off and you're a weekend warrior, you got like 4 or 5 days to go on a hunt. That's not a lot of time to sacrifice giving it to somebody else.
Yeah, dude, you're absolutely right. Dude, when you're talking about the mentorship and same with guiding, you just have to take yourself out of the situation and you have to put yourself in their skill set and like their shoes. And it can be really tough. Like doesn't matter if I went out hunting with a 17-year-old gal a handful of years ago, her first mule deer hunt. That whole trip, like she was out, I think we were going to hunt 4 or 5 of the 6-day season. It was most of the season. And it was like, dude, we just got to like get her in front of an antlered animal, and like, and she had multiple opportunities. And like knowing that like the more reps that she was getting, the better and more comfortable at each opportunity. You kind of have to be, you have to both set that expectation at the beginning. Like we're going to get you reps and opportunities until it feels right. Right. And also in your own mind, you got to be like, we're going to teach them a lot. This is a teaching experience. And if we get meat on the other side, that's the cream on the top. That's the
Right.
cherry on top.
Right.
It's a weird mindset shift because especially I would imagine you're probably the same. Like when I'm out for myself, just obviously depends on the hunt, but 99% of the time when I'm on a hunt for myself, I'm out there being like, all right, we're going to get something today, or
Right.
I'm going to set myself up for success in the short future, near future.
Yeah.
And you just got to go in with a totally different mindset.
Well, you bring up a really interesting point, and something that I wrote an article on a few years back was how black bear hunting is the ultimate gateway and mentorship animal that I believe every new hunter needs to start with.
Okay, I want to hear your argument for this because this has not been my black bear experience.
Okay. So, first off, you gotta hunt in a state where fall black bear opens prior to any other big game season.
Okay.
Right? So that has to be the starting point. Because if you are going into bear season when it's deer and elk archery season, everything gets messed up. So, first off, the weather's always great, right? It's August. The berries are out. Now, this comes from a guy who I used to work at REI. I used to sell backpacks. My question to every customer was like, what's your next adventure? Like, what are you going on? What are you doing? And I spent every August prior to being a hunter backpacking the Pacific Crest Trail, the Wonderland Trail, and Mount Rainier, and all over the mountains out west. Well, what I realized once I got into hunting is animals, and this sounds stupid. I mean, we rehash the same thing. So anyone who's hearing this who's not a newbie is going to be like, yeah, duh. Like animals need 3 things: food, shelter, water, right? And then they just constantly go in between those 3 nonstop. And they just circle and circle until one wears out or till they feel like moving to a different location or till it burns out because of sun or whatever. So hunting bears is easy when you find the food source. Target that. Does it have water? Bam. Focus your attention there and just stay there. And it teaches you to sit behind glass and glass and glass. Because bears don't hide like deer do, right? Where you're like, oh, you're looking for ear movement or a tail flick or, like bears are always moving. When I give my seminar at Western Hunt Expo here in February, I always talk about how it's like fish on a pond. You look at a pond, you're like, dude, I don't see any fish here. And then all of a sudden one jumps out of the water and it goes back in. You're like, oh, there are fish here. That's what bears are when they're moving through those berry patches and they pop up and they go back down and they pop up and go back down. So what you get to experience if you hunt bear as a brand new hunter, a few things, I'll break it down. Number 1, you get to learn advocacy for hunting. And advocacy for hunting starts with predator management. And because what is the number 1 most confused animal when it comes to defense of? Bears. Because we grew up with teddy bears, right? Like, oh, the thing that provided comfort to me is not the thing I want to go out and kill. Is not the thing that I want to go pursue. Also, on top of that is being able to hunt a predator really puts you on top of the game, makes you feel like you can conquer anything. So you got the teddy bear aspect, you got the predator. You also have the season where the weather's great. You don't have to really worry about storms. It might be a little hot, but a lot of times, bear season in August, the days are so long, you don't have to stress about getting up super early in the morning and going to bed really late. You can take midday naps. You can go put your feet in a creek or take a swim in a pond and really have it be more of a casual style hunt without being like, dude, hours are burning, I gotta be on the glass. And then once you are in these locations, how old are you, Jaden?
Yeah, I'm 30.
Okay, so you're just a young buck, man.
I know.
Yeah,
I was
you're
thinking
just
that when you were talking about it earlier.
because this plays a big role. Are you familiar with who Bo Jackson is?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders, right? The
Yeah.
ultimate cross trainers, right?
Yeah.
You use one thing to train for another. I was a college football player, and our college football team played a pickup basketball game against the college basketball team, and we smoked them. Why? Because a lot of us football players were basketball players, and we knew how to use our bodies in a more physical way, and we owned the rebounds every single time. It's not that, we had the best handles or, the best jump shot, but we could still score. So the point of what I'm saying is cross training has been lost in society. Everyone specializes into something, right? It's like, oh, you're a baseball player. You got to play year-round baseball. It's travel ball, like all these things. So this idea of cross training, bear hunting provides. You go out in August, you get to see these wonderful landscapes. You're up more often than not in the alpine, and you get to spot other animals without feeling pressure to have to attack and get after them and make stalks. Oh, hey, there's a deer. Wow, that's a really nice deer. Mental note, mark it in Onyx, like whatever it is. And you start picking out spots and putting them in your data bank and being like, okay, come deer season, I'm going to come back here and see what it looks like. I'm going to see if I can find that deer. I have killed turkeys, bucks, I've seen elk, I've seen moose, all within the exact same drainage that I shot spring bear and where I've seen bears in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of my take on it.
I think that cross training take in particular is just next. Like that is something that I literally preach to everybody. And in particular, like if you're a traveling hunter, you don't live in a state. Let's just take elk hunting for our example here. You don't live in a state that you can get an elk tag every year, so you're building up points to go to a Wyoming, but you can go spring bear hunt or fall bear hunt where you can eventually draw an elk tag, or you're like waiting for the bull tag, so I'm going to get a cow tag and go hunt there. I've got a fella from Florida. This has been a 3-year process with him where he went out spring bear hunting in the place that he was going to cow elk hunt. Then he went cow elk hunting and shot a cow after chasing herds around that were bugling. And then this year he's on deck to like get his bull tag and like go do bull hunting in that same area. And he's going to go back and learn some new areas spring bear hunting before he goes back in with his bull tag.
Yes.
Like that is exactly like this dude is just doing it to a T. How if someone's a traveling hunter, I'm like, that is perfect. And that's exactly what you're talking about is like, you can mix and match all these other opportunities. And really what you're just doing is getting repetitions and you're getting practice in at the craft of hunting. And I think that that's been lost as we just assume like, oh, I just hunting's not that hard. You just go out, you've got this big boomstick thing and going to make it happen. And in reality, like there's some real skill sets to practice on and some things to learn, not only about the places, but also in your own skill sets and like how you move about the country that I think we overlook. We just think it might be too easy sometimes.
Oh yeah. Do you read books much?
Yeah, I read a fair amount. I like a lot of the old timey hunting books and some authors from back in the day. I like to go back in time a little bit. Yeah.
All right. So this is not a hunting story or a hunting book, but it applies to what we're talking about here. So you know who Malcolm Gladwell is?
Yeah, absolutely. I've read some of his.
Okay. So he did a book called Outliers, The Story of Success. And in his book, he talks about the 10,000 hour rule. So key points, I'm just going to read this off. I just Googled it real quick. Is the rule is based off of research by a certain psychologist who studied expert musicians and found that extensive practice is crucial for mastery. Examples Gladwell cites is Bill Gates, the Beatles, and a lot of other people who practice consistently early in their careers, contributing to their success. So, what I like to say is, people always say is days of field, right? The more days of field. Well, that goes to the 10,000 hour rule, right? If you're only hunting 1 or 2 days in a season a year, so for example, mule deer, if you're only getting a weekend in every season, that's what? 62 hours, 72 hours?
Yeah.
It's going to take you a long time to master that, right? But if you can combine your days of field with all these other species and start stacking these hours, it's not so much like I'm a really good mule deer hunter. No, you're a really good hunter. And then that hunter translates across the board, across species, across weapons, and that's what makes you lethal, right?
Yeah.
So I always fall back on that and be like, dude, got to get those hours.
The other piece is too, like, and I run into a lot of hunters who maybe have a wide breadth of information or of hunting skills. Someone who knows how to whitetail hunt, they can come out and shoot an elk every year. They can find a mule deer, not too hard or whatever, but they're like, that person constantly will come to me and be like, I just want to go to some place with bigger animals, blah, 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 blah. And honestly, what I oftentimes tell them is like, okay, well then stop hunting these other species, like focus. Cause you gotta, if you want to be really, really good at one topic, just to your point about the 10,000 hours rule, you got to go deep on that thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of why like mule deer is my personal obsession. I always say like I hunt elk with friends and mule deer for myself. Because one, elk are a lot easier to pack out with friends, but two, it's been something where it's like, okay, this is the thing that I'm trying to, what you'd say, like gain mastery on. I don't think there's ever an end to it, which is super fun. But it was like, you put in more time, you put in more time, you put in more time, and then you're rewarded. And that's one of the best things about hunting, in my opinion, is it is one of those things that it's very clear to see your progression, and it's very clear to have an outcome that you're looking for, eventually at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And that's super, super rewarding.
Yeah. It was really interesting having these conversations with my wife, being in my 30s, getting into hunting. I go out hunting. Once again, this is back on like weekend warrior status because I was a high school football coach and doing a lot of other things on top of wanting to learn how to hunt. Go on out, come back. Wife, did you see anything? No, I didn't see anything.
Yeah.
And like, oh man, he's hanging the head. And that would continue till it got to a point where it's like, you see anything? Yes, I saw something, but it wasn't legal.
Yeah.
And that would continue.
It's like a little win though.
Yes,
yeah.
Little wins. We're stacking.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, did you see anything? Yes. And I saw something. I just didn't get a shot on it. And then eventually it just started clicking got to a point where I felt like I am a hunter when I knew that I could consistently go out and find the animal in which I was looking for. Didn't have to shoot it, didn't have to kill it, but if I could find it, I was like, okay, dude, I've reached the top. Not really, but you know what I mean. Like,
yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm ready. Let's go. So with that being said, one question, this plays into the 10,000 hour rule, but also goes into a bigger question is, how often or how long will you hunt the exact same location season after season after season before you're like, I want a new challenge. I want to take my skills and transfer them to a place I've never been, or, whatever that would look like.
Okay, so I'm probably the wrong person to ask about that in some ways, because I love finding new spots. Like I get a huge rush when I'm in someplace new and I find what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Like that is super cool to me. I'm just thinking back over the years, unless I was guiding, and like obviously in guiding you have to, like, the goal is a little bit more targeted. It's like, hey, we got to get something. So whenever I'm going back to a guiding trip, usually we go check the old honey hole, right?
Yeah.
But outside of that, man, I very rarely, if ever, have shot something in the same place unless it was like a doe or a cow or something like that.
And
Um,
that's more like, oh, dude, last ditch effort, last day of the season. Let's go to check the spot that I've been to before, or is that just you're
no,
like
man,
time's
like
limited?
oftentimes, and I'm also fortunate to have, like, I have a lot of tags and a lot of opportunities and long season dates. So usually I like, I'll just be like, hey, this whole hunt is dedicated to learning something new. This whole hunt's dedicated to learning something new. And usually, like, you can put something together, and I put something together before the end of those seasons, and like that's super fun to me.
Nice.
Um, but a big piece of that, now I got to caveat this with a big piece of that is I scout a lot of the same areas over and over again, looking for critters and verifying whether critters are there.
Scout with boots on the ground or e-scout?
Both, dude. Yeah, I've e-scouted. Well, not only do I do e-scouting for a living for people now, but I've also e-scouted for myself in like dozens and dozens and dozens of places that I've never set foot in, right?
Yeah.
But then like in the opportunity that it does arise, like then it's like, all right, cool, boom, let's go check it out, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, answer your original question, like I'm not wanting to associate directly with the Malcolm Gladwell outlier book, but maybe I'm an outlier when it comes to the approach of going back to an old spot.
Yeah.
And here's the reason I think that that is so ingrained in my approach. When I was growing up, I grew up on a farm and ranch in Eastern Oregon, and we had this place called the Butte. And the Butte was kind of the only habitat for deer on our family's like property. And so, opening weekend of rifle deer season, we'd get whoever in the family and the local neighbors had deer tags, we'd get them together, and a handful of us would walk up and over the top of the butte and push deer to the old guys who were standing on the other side.
Mm.
When I was in late high school, so I was like a junior in high school. Um, no, I was a senior. I was a senior in high school. I got the tag and nobody else did. Like it had gotten hard enough to draw that people didn't get tags and like there was things going on or whatever. And I went out that year and there weren't any deer on the butte. I didn't kill a deer that year. And I was like, what in the heck? Like, this is the honey hole. This is the butte. There's always deer. You know, my family has literally killed deer off the butte for generations and they're not here this year.
Yeah.
And it was pretty disappointing, but also it made me like really want to invest in like, okay, well, why is that? And how can I find more places like the butte that I can go back to? Right. And so from then on, it was just like a constant discovery of new places. And at the end of the day, the way that like habitat changes, weather patterns, you know, shift year to year or long term, predator dynamics are changing, development of the human landscape is changing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just don't want to invest in a honey hole that I use as a crutch anymore because I just have seen things change, ebb and flow. And like, if I put all my eggs in that basket, man, they might break. And
Right.
you end up with going home tag soup.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. So what about the butte did you learn that held deer?
Dude, so the butte has and it's not a really common feature in this valley I grew up in. The butte has a ton of we called it just buckbrush, but it was like serviceberry and hawthorn like brush. Somewhere between, it's got a bunch of sagebrush on it. So it's like brush that's between waist high and like maybe 10, 12 feet high.
Mm-hmm.
Not very many trees. And it's those are all like really serviceberry and sagebrush in particular, all really quality pieces of habitat that I figured out after the fact. And it's got a lot of kind of escape routes, and like it's got some interesting dynamics where deer can sit on the butte and look out and kind of see things coming from any direction.
Mm-hmm.
And all around it, you've got like hay fields and wheat fields and whatever else, grass fields. And then you've got the big mountain that's behind it, which is just covered in timber. And so it's really the small micro habitat that is essentially like safety, where they can bounce off the butte and go to the mountain or bounce out into the fields to get away from folks.
Yeah.
They can have all of the bedding habitat they need, and they've got their food and water with the fields and the irrigation and stuff down below them. So it's just like the perfect little mixture of habitat.
So did you take that in your mind and apply that to when you're e-scouting and looking for new spots?
Yeah, totally. I've got this hunt that I'm planning this next year, and it's a really open unit. It's kind of hard to decipher, like, okay, well, where's a deer going to bed? And I just keep going, like, all right, where's the service berry draws, and like, where's the in this place there's a bunch of mountain mahogany,
Mhm.
and I've learned like that's a really good mule deer habitat, kind of staple of mule deer habitat is those mountain mahoganies. And it's like, okay, I've got this vast landscape, but hey, let's focus in on this edge, like where they've got some safety, where they can bed. And then again, I'm still looking for like some agriculture that's not too far away, and like some nasty, rocky, steep stuff or some timber stuff that they can escape to. So yeah, man, like that's just kind of the name of the game is finding. It's more about like pattern recognition, recognizing what they need, and being able to pick that up and put it down as a template in a different place,
Yeah.
shifting it, maybe the name of the plants change, or like the elevation range might change drastically, but understanding what you're looking for is
Mhm.
stays the same.
Yeah, that's exactly what I talk about when it comes to bear hunting. Um, there are some slight differences because one of the things is when I'm talking Western big game hunting, like vision is key, right?
Mm-hmm.
It says in the Bible, "Without vision, the people perish." And if you're relying on the food in which you're providing and you can't see, you betcha that's going
Mm-hmm.
to be a starving winter. But with you try to apply that. I had people in my seminars before. They're like, "Well, I'm in Michigan and it's pretty flat and it's really timbered and all this." It's like it's hard to apply that to this. I'm like, they still need the same thing, but now your vision is cut down, so you got to get in there more. Your e-scouting isn't going to be as beneficial as actually boots on the ground and go
Mm-hmm.
take a walk.
Yeah, yeah. But still, man, I mean, I feel like we're so lucky to have like the satellite imagery that we do,
Hmm.
in the high definition that we do. Like, holy cow! I was looking at this giant lava flow for a hunt the other day, and I was like, "What is that little wrinkle?" And I like zoomed in, and I'm like, "Holy crap! That's a spring in this like indent in the lava flow. Maybe it's only 20 feet by 20 feet,
Yeah,
and you can see it just in the middle of this thing, like this bright green little spot." And I'm like, here's to your point. I got to get boots on the ground to go look at that thing,
yeah,
because that's cool. Like, I want to see if there's tracks in there and like verify it.
yeah.
Obviously you can't you can't negate the hard work at the end of the day, even with our technology. But yeah, to your point, it's getting boots on the ground once you have a lead is so important.
Okay, so boots on the ground question for you, and this is a very um, ignorant question for people who are brand new to hunting, especially mountain hunting, right?
Okay.
Wilderness hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Are you starting with a trailhead as the starting point to help you find your locations? Or are you finding your locations and trying to find a trailhead that gets you the closest to it? Or are you like, it doesn't even matter. That drainage, I'm going to go up and we'll figure out a way.
So I have ridden back and forth on this seesaw a couple times. Um, I think I'm getting closer to the middle. From the get go of like my backpack in backcountry hunting, we would take trails in. Like, that was just what we did.
Hmm.
And then I started realizing, like, okay, well, trails are where everyone else is who wants to backpack or backpack hunt. That's also what they use. And in a place like Colorado or Western Wyoming or the high country of Oregon, like, that's where you're going to have pressure from the people who are hardcore like you are.
Hmm.
So then I went totally anti trail, and I was just like, screw the trails. We're not using them. And there's a spot. It's funny. I actually went back in there this last year. But a spot that we had checked out in 2023, and me and my compadres, like, we were like, screw the trail. We're just going to go straight up this thing. And it was like a 3,000-foot climb. And it was only like 2 miles, which, doing that math, if anyone's been on 2 miles and 3,000 feet, is dang steep.
You're almost putting your hands on the ground.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And it roasted us, right? Like, it's hot and we're getting up there with our heavy backpacks on. We get to the top and we look down off the other side. We're like, yeah, this is where we want to camp. And we realize the trail had come up the other side and was maybe, I don't know, 800 yards below us off the other side. And we're like, I don't think we really saved anything here, you know?
Right.
Um, the funny thing was, I mean, just to contradict myself, we were up higher and further along the trail than the people who were hunting in there the next day.
Mm.
But I went back in there and we used the trail system this time because it
Mm-hmm.
was so much faster, so much faster. So I would say like it's a little bit hunt dependent, but oftentimes I end up saying especially if I'm truck hunting, like I'm sleeping at my pickup or vehicle and then hiking in, I hardly ever use a trail. If I'm backpacking, I'm going to use the trail, basically count it as a road and assume there's a lot of hunting pressure on it to get myself injected into the backcountry and then work off the trail when I'm actually trying to hunt.
Mm. Yeah. I like that. Use the trail to get you to the highest point and then run the ridges out to all the different fingers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. What weapon do you prefer to hunt with?
Yeah, I love bow hunting. Like bow hunting is I didn't do enough of it this year. I try to make sure that I get one animal a year with my bow, but this next year, my favorite thing, which you probably have picked up on, but my favorite thing is deer hunting, and deer hunting with a bow is just a blast, especially in early season. I haven't shot one for 2 years with my bow, so I got to go back and do that this next year. So that's by far my favorite, but I'm pretty equal opportunity. I shoot a lot of animals with a rifle. I picked up a muzzleloader this year and I'm trying to learn the muzzleloader game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just kind of, whatever opportunity I can use to get out more, I'm going to do it. And oftentimes I don't have the fortitude to stick with my bow in a rifle season, so I'll pick it up.
Yeah. I know there's some times where like, dude, if I only had a rifle, that animal would be dead. We wouldn't have to
Oh,
worry about this.
absolutely. Yeah.
So talk a little bit about your company, Hunt West Planning.
Yeah. So Hunt West Planning Company, when I was working on a computer 9 to 5, well, I should argue I am still doing that, but in a different way. But when I was working for someone else 9 to 5 on a computer, I'd get my work done, and then I'd be kind of like just like not that motivated. And I think my old employers would be surprised by this because I try to show up. When you're doing a job, you got to show up and perform, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I just was like so not motivated. I would just drift off into e-scouting and I would drift off into hunt planning for myself. And then I'd be like, okay, well, I only got so much time in the year. And then I'd hit up a friend, hey, where are you going to hunt? They're like, here, or this is the unit. And I'm like, okay, let me e-scout it for you. And I tested that for a couple of seasons and folks had success on like me e-scouting for them.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, maybe this can be a business. So then I charged some folks back in like 2021 to do some test run type like services, and it worked really well. And I was like, oh dang. And by working really well, some folks like killed animals, but more than anything, they all were seeing stuff. And
Yeah.
that's like, I can't pull the trigger, like, that makes their hunt feel a lot more successful just seeing animals. Like it's exactly the same thing you were talking about at the top of the show.
Yep. Yep.
And so ever since 2021, I've been charging folks to do e-scouting for them and help them hunt plan. And it got to the point where there's enough folks needing help that I could do it full time. So that's what I did when I was talking about doing that in 2024. So now, the Hunt West Planning Company, man, we do like webinars where we can kind of batch teach people about really specific information about different states. I do sessions kind of like a hunting coach / consultant. And then I also do like full on DIY hunt plans for people, which is super fun. Those ones are like, either any of them, but especially the hunt plans, really invested in their success. I'm like checking in and like, talking about details, sending them hype up YouTube videos and like stuff like that. And it's so fun. I just had this the other day. A guy hired me for a complete plan, and we were looking at a deer hunt in this place. And I don't know if you saw the news about there's a secretarial order to open up national wildlife refuges to hunting, kind of across the board.
Mm-hmm.
We had just looked at a hunt that he was applying for, and it had a national wildlife refuge that he can't hunt in it. And so that came across the desk, and I just immediately was like, yo, dude, we might be able to open up your game plan a little bit. Like, this is a place that hasn't been hunted in 60 days. We're going to know details on this. And if you can get into this place that
Sweet.
hasn't had anybody hunting it yet. And like, I'm just so pumped for that, man. Um, so at the end of the day, yeah, Hunt West Planning Company is so fun because I get to live vicariously through so many people or who are going on these fun hunts and creating incredible memories and like having an adventure. And I get to have like a little part in it, and that just is super rewarding. And it's fun to get to know all these people. It's like I have a hard time calling folks clients because gosh, it seems like everyone after you spend some time with them, they end up being like
Right.
just another hunting buddy that I've never actually met in person, you know? So it's super fun.
I love that. If you were to break up, like a pie chart of the species in which you're doing the most of, what would the breakdown be?
It'd probably be a third elk, maybe uh maybe like 40% elk, let's say 30% deer, and then the rest percentages are split between pronghorn and bear.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You know, hunting out west is not cheap.
No.
And so it's really interesting. Like, do you really want to go through this effort to pay more money on top of an already high price tag?
Mhm.
And yet, at the exact same time, it's like, well, if you're spending all this time, energy, and resources to go out west, don't you want to increase your odds to the absolute max that you possibly can?
Yeah, dude. And it's oftentimes I think, the person that I'm working with usually doesn't have enough vacation and or doesn't have enough time to dedicate to the preparation. And it's usually a time limitation game because, and I'm putting out a podcast here pretty soon that's going to be about the gear side of things, how you can do it for less money so that you can invest in the tags. Because I don't want guys to be spending $1,000 on a brand new bow this year when they didn't need one and they can't put in for a random chance at a tag in New Mexico,
Right.
or Idaho or whatever. Um, so yeah, I'm getting off on I'm digressing here a little bit, but the point of it is like you're right. It's expensive, and at the end of it, I think people should really be valuing their time too when they're out there. And maybe if you got the time to do it, you can understand that you're going to have to go do a lot of reps and learn through the school of hard knocks. But if there's ways to kind of shorten that learning curve a little bit, um, yeah, I think it's important to invest in.
What's your success rate as far as people spotting animals versus taking your course or going through your service?
Like the success rate of people finding animals.
Yes. The animals
I
that they're searching for.
Yeah. I'm racking my brain right now, and I can't remember somebody who hasn't seen the critter they're looking for.
Yeah.
Spring bear hunt, couple spring bear hunts that's happened
Dude,
because that's a hard one, man.
I was
It's a
gonna
real hard
say,
one.
so I give bear seminars, and for the very first time since I've killed my very first bear, I didn't see a bear this last year. And I went
It's
to
tough.
Idaho. It was first week of June, really hot. I think everything just pushed way lower than I expected, and I don't know. I just had a hard time finding them, and I was devastated that I did not lay eyes on one.
It's tough, man. That's a tough one. I mean, and I have kind of probably like you got the bear bug, and um last year I didn't kill one either. I was like 13 or 14 days in. The one bear we saw a friend of mine shot, which was super cool. I mean, I still got some bear fat in the freezer, so that's important.
There you go.
But yeah, that one's been tough. And I think the important thing is having that conversation with people, and beforehand and making sure they know what they're getting themselves into.
Hmm.
Um, so that's a huge piece of it.
How do you go about? You say you have a lot of tags in your pocket, right?
Mm-hmm.
You work in the outdoor industry by doing this full time. How
Mm-hmm.
much time do you find you're actually hunting?
For myself,
Yeah, for yourself.
I make sure like I have this my buddy Cody Rich. I've spent a lot of time around him, and he had this saying a few years ago that it really stuck with me. He was like, "One for me, one with you, something old and something new."
Oh yeah,
And
like the old marriage saying.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I like that when it comes to how I play my fall. Usually, it's about two big hunts for myself every fall. Um, And then what I do is like I'll have other hunts that I can like squeak out a day or two and just like keep kind of chipping away at it.
Mm-hmm.
More weekend warrior style or
Yeah.
between hunts.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always try to do 2 hunts. I have a couple of like really core hunting buddies and my brother who is also core hunting buddy, but like family, that I try to make sure I do a hunt with them at least once, and then I do one for myself. So, like this last year, the hunt for myself, I drew a cow moose tag, and funny enough, it did kind of morph into a hunt with friends because so many friends wanted to come help pack out, and there was like a huge crew of us. But that was like my hunt for myself. Um, and then like I ended up with a bunch of hunts with other people that were like really, really good friends. Like Cody and I went on an elk hunt. My buddy Gray and I went on a deer hunt. My lifelong friend Kane and I went on a pronghorn hunt together. So it definitely, last year was a little bit absurd. Like we got a lot of friend hunts in as well as guided and one for myself. But um, yeah, it just depends on the year, but at least 2 really good rips for myself. And by really good rips, I'm talking like a week or more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then we did like uh, four big guiding stints last year too.
Mm. Yeah. That's awesome. Good for you.
Yeah,
So
thanks, man.
I tell you, when I lived out west and you could get, go hunt big game all seasons in the state of Washington, horribly managed, but at least at the time you could buy an over the counter elk deer tag every year. You
Hmm.
could, you would consistently get to go out, um, which was a lot of fun, but the hunting seasons were so limited that I didn't get to hunt as much as I wanted to. And
Hmm.
then there's super pressured also because everyone's hunting at that exact same time. So I
Hmm.
moved down here to the state of Texas, and there's animals that you can hunt year round all the time.
Hmm.
It's awesome.
It is.
And I'm starting to be like, dude, I really need to go out west. I need to go on a mountain hunt. I need to, go experience that.
But I think one of the things that like kind of drives me nuts, but also, and this isn't pointed at you, just to clarify, but
Oh yeah.
kind of drives me nuts about like the whole ethos of Western hunting is there's this huge feeling, especially from people, um, well, both in-state and non-residents. I see it on both sides of it. Like an in-state person will have general opportunity, and they'll be pissed they can't draw a limited tag.
Hmm.
A non-resident will be like, it takes me so many years to draw a bull tag. I can't. I wish I could go hunt a Wyoming general, or it takes me 3 years to hunt
Yeah.
in Montana. Like I wish I could go do that. And to that person, I say, you've got cow tag opportunities every single year.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, maybe you're looking at Colorado, and I don't want to burn my points and go on a cow hunt in Colorado. Well, crap, dude, you got a fall bear tag opportunity every single year.
Hmm.
You got there's always like some way that you can be getting out and hunting more. And I think that people don't look at they're so focused on the thing that they want most that they don't see the forest for the trees and how much opportunity is out there to just get out and like have these adventures, probably bring home meat for the freezer. And it might not put more racks on your wall or like the species of rack on your wall in the case
Right.
of like if you got to do a deer hunt instead of an elk hunt, etc. But gosh, there's a lot of opportunity out there.
Well, I tell you, it's been able to get me and my children out hunting more, right? So, like,
Oh yeah.
as an adult and having children as I'm learning how to hunt, the last thing I want to do is manage children while I'm still trying to figure it out myself, right? And so, looking forward, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not exactly sure when I'm ready to take you on my first hunt because a lot of these hunts are going to be, out of a tent and backpacking and this
Mm-hmm.
Western big game style.
Mm-hmm.
But now I live in Texas, and just this evening I went out to the deer lease that's 40 minutes away, and we were hunting does, and
That's sweet.
picked up my kid early from school, my youngest, and I said, hey, let's go out there and let's go chase some does, see what we can find. Didn't see anything. It was a little bit of a bummer of a night. That's attributed to weather. And you listened to last week's podcast where I talk about how this weather's been absolutely crazy this year for
Mm.
just the animal species across the board from waterfowl all the way to the big game. But with that being said, it's like, okay, now I'm having opportunities with my children that I
Yeah.
might not had otherwise.
Yeah. Dude, I just had this conversation this morning about this same topic. This fella, he's Oklahoma whitetail hunter, and him and his daughter had been out. He was like, dude, my daughter, she's sick for it. She's like killed 4 deer this year already, with her crossbow or whatever. And I'm like, heck yeah, that's awesome. Um, and we got to talking about some elk opportunity, and I was like, I was like, if you put in for the special, like this cow tag, like you could get this thing. And he was like, wait, I could get a cow tag. He's like, would that be a family friendly hunt? I'm like, oh yeah, it's like a pronghorn hunt for elk. And he's like, no freaking way. I was like, are you good with spending? So like in Wyoming, the special price of an elk tag is $2,000. So it'd be like a $2,000 cow tag.
Yeah, it's pricey.
He's like, but you're telling me I can take my whole family and we can ride around in the truck and glass up elk and they can all be there for me to shoot a cow. I was like, yeah. He's like, dude, I'm in. I was like, no freaking way. So he's like, what? So if I don't, he's like, if I had a different cow tag and I paid for an outfitter, I'd be paying 3,500 instead of 2,000. He's like, there's already a net positive on what, the budget of it would be for the alternatives. And he's like, and my family can go and we can create a cool memory together. He was like, he's like, that's next level. He's like, that's so much more important to me right now than necessarily putting big antlers on the wall. And I was just like, this dude knows what's important in his life. And I really appreciated that. It was cool.
And to each their own, right? Like you got to hunt your hunt, right? You got to fulfill your soul the way you want to fulfill your soul. And time is valuable. Time is precious. Time is money. And if you spend your time hunting with your family and you want to go do an elk hunt, better figure out a way to make sure that they can come along. So
yeah. And then on the other side of it, there is an element, and this is something that really drives me in my hunts, is like I love hunts that push me physically and mentally, and like are a effort in being a better human for myself. You got to make time for those things too, right? Like you shouldn't ignore the need to do those things just because you're trying to people please, right?
Oh yeah.
Obviously that just comes from like really good communication with your loved ones and in your work and professional life or whatever, right? Like that comes with good communication from the get-go of what your goals are. But yeah, I think it's important for both.
Oh yeah, just like flying on an airplane, right? We hit turbulence and oxygen masks fall from the ceiling. Make sure to put your own mask on first before you put and help others.
Yeah.
And that saying is, it's hard when you become a parent, because to be a good parent, you have to actually be selfless. And that doesn't mean not taking care of yourself. It means being selfless with your time to make sure that you're constantly supporting your children and shaping them and molding them and guiding them the way that they need, but they also need to see you model it and to challenge yourself. I always think back that the social media a couple of years ago, I saw this video of this guy running next to his son, and they were going for a jog, and the dad in the middle of the jog was like, son, you can be anything you want to be. Anything you want to do, you can accomplish. You're capable of it all. And he's like, so think about what your goals are. And the son looked at his dad and was like, well, what were your goals? And they weren't what he was currently doing, and it was like a big aha moment to be like, don't settle, keep going, keep fighting, answer the question, what do you want? And if you're willing to sacrifice what it takes to get there, go get it. And if you don't want to sacrifice what it takes to go get there, that's all right also, because obviously it means you wanted something else a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, I think of hunting as, I know this might be shocking to some people because it is what my life revolves around at this point, but like I think of hunting in the same vein as some people. Obviously, like fishing is an easy correlation, but in college, I worked at a ski shop, and I met some people who were just as sick for skiing as I am for hunting, right? And whether someone is taking their kids to Vail for the weekend or they're trying to go ski down the Grand Teton, on this like epic mountaineering ski tour adventure, I think that it just doesn't necessarily matter what you choose. Hunting obviously has some really valuable pieces of it that extend beyond just a hobby. But as long as you have like something that you're working towards that you can like you said, kind of like model for other people, um, I think that's a critical part that people need to have in their lives.
Yeah. I work, so I'm still a school teacher if you didn't know this, and I
Okay,
work in a discipline campus down here in the state of Texas.
nice.
70% of my students will end up incarcerated in their life. So,
Okay.
and that's a percentage that's constant across the state of Texas. So I'm working with a lot of victim mentality, a lot of
Hmm.
kids that come from abusive homes, come from neglect, come from homes where at least somebody who's a direct relative is already in prison, right?
Right.
And so they've been modeled victim mentality.
Hmm.
And we have to constantly remember that we are always at a crossroads. And that crossroads is, whether you're looking at it like a diagram of up and down or left and right, one direction is the growth mindset. And the other option is the victim mindset. And what goes along with the victim mindset is an excuse to stay the same. On the
Hmm.
flip of that, with the growth mindset, is a reason to change. Your reason to change needs to be greater than the excuse to stay the same. And we are always constantly interacting with that exact choice, day in and day out, whether we know it consciously or subconsciously.
Hmm.
Am I getting better? That's, you've heard people say, oh, 1% better. I'm a former coach, so I love, all the little rah
Yeah.
rah motivational talks, get people fired up thing. But really, that's what it comes down to, right? Like, are you getting better? Are you sharpening yourself? Because you're a hunter, a knife that's dull is worthless. It's garbage, right? That if that knife edge is sharp, that's exactly what you want because it's efficient. It's going to do the job.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I had this wrestling coach, and I was a pretty mediocre wrestler. Well, even at the end of it, but for the first couple years of high school, I was pretty mediocre. And then we got this assistant wrestling coach who uh, was a lot more in tune with like motivation and like kind of like what makes someone tick.
Yeah.
And he said to me one day, he was just like, "Dude, you gotta find something that just like lights you up." And it was so interesting. He's like, I know that this might be kind of weird, but he was like, do you have some trauma that you can pull on? Like, do you
Hmm.
have some things that like just piss you off? He's like, maybe it's as simple as like how much weight you're cutting and like the fact that like not being able to eat whatever you want all the time sucks. He's like, whatever it is, can you pull the string of some sort of motivational factor that just fires you up that you can channel into and like get after it?
Yeah.
And that absolutely changed the course of like my wrestling career. And then it was something that um, my buddy Cody, he like tapped back into when I was trying to get my first elk with a bow. And he goes, when you put enough preparation in and you have like the right motivations, you step out of the truck on opening day with your bow in your hand and you're like, it's go time. Like, this is the moment that, like, this is
Hmm.
literally the same speech that you would hear in a locker room. Like, you've worked your butt off to get to this point, whether it's working at actual work and like preparing to like get ready to leave, or you're talking about all the reps in the garage that you're doing. And in my case, when it's freezing outside and I'm just trying to shoot 10 yards just to keep from getting rusty,
Right.
right? He's like, you step out of that truck and it's like, you have practiced so hard that you can go out and you can just freaking execute.
Yeah.
And I just love that mindset because I think it's the same. Again, I keep not wanting to make it just about hunting because it's just applicable to so many things in life. But gosh, it turned it on for me in hunting and like it made a huge difference from the get go.
Oh, yeah. There's a football coach, a Hall of Fame football coach from Pacific Lutheran University in the state of Washington, Frosty
Uh-huh.
Westering, and he always used to say, make the big time where you're at.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't
Absolutely.
matter, if it's a doe hunt, if it's a cow hunt, if it's, whatever. Make the big time where you're at. That's your Super Bowl. That's your moment. Conquer it. Go MVP it. Go,
Yeah.
be a legend. Be a legend.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. And that's what makes like, we were talking about how I love like a mule deer hunt in the hottest freaking part of the year when the bucks are still in the velvet, and like it's a test of patience more often than not.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's funny because like usually that hunt in particular pairs itself well with a big physical effort in the dark, and then as the light gets up, you're sitting on your butt, and then you find it, put it to bed, and it's a big physical effort to get there as soon as possible, and then you're sitting on your butt, you're gonna wait for the shot opportunity, right? And dude, there's nothing more that I would give. Like I replay this last couple deer I've shot, I've had to sit on them and wait for them to stand up and get out of their bed. And there's nothing more that I would give right now. It's like the highlight reel in my brain to be just sitting there baking in the sun, trying to talk myself into not doing something stupid. You know, like I'm just sitting here like this is the Super Bowl, you're just like getting ready to kick the game winning field goal, waiting for him to stand up, And the same thing happens with like elk hunting. I keep using these archery examples because I think they're the most visceral ones when they're that's in your lap, but it can happen with rifle hunting too. But like you're calling a bull in and he's screaming and you're just like you're ranging everything and then you're ready and that bull's coming, you hear some sticks break and you're like, okay, I've got to be locked in the zone. As soon as that dang bull crosses through this window, I got to give him a cow call. And I know he's at this distance and I just got to put the perfect arrow on him. And like you were just so locked in that moment. And again, you feed off that for the rest of the year going
Oh
like,
yeah.
that's the freaking highlight reel. That was the game we're playing for,
Oh yeah.
I just want to be ready to do it again.
Okay, so we take all that, we package it up, and this is like my mission of Soul Seekers,
Yeah.
and how excited you get when you're talking about that, and like
Yeah.
we were like we're right there, like I
Yeah.
feel that with you, and then I constantly go back to a Jim Gaffigan comedy skit where he talks about alcohol and how when people say they don't drink, the first question that they get is why?
Yeah.
Wait, you don't drink alcohol? Why? Like, that's so weird. He goes, you don't get that when people say, no, I don't eat mayonnaise. You don't eat mayonnaise? Why? Are you allergic to mayonnaise? Can you only have a little mayonnaise before, like, that's how I feel about hunting. Like, why do you not hunt? Why?
Yeah.
Like, what is it that you feel like is so more important than going out and transforming your life through primal adventure and putting yourself in an experience that is the tip of the spear and drawing outside the lines of what we've been taught? Like, stay within the lines, stay within the lines, do this, this is what society says. Go create your own adventure and truly live, right? Like that. You don't hunt? Why? Why are you not hunting, man? Like, come on. It's the best thing ever. It's the best thing ever.
Dude, absolutely. And it's funny, my fiance, she doesn't hunt, but in all of the processes except for pulling the trigger, she is just infinitely interested. She's like, I want to go look at animals. I want to go backpack in someplace. She's like, I want to go do like this hard stuff. So she's and obviously she's hung up on, the actual taking of a life. And that's an important barrier I think a lot of people have to work through on their own. But like all of the other things, like you got to practice and shoot throughout the year and like get better at different skill sets. And then you got to go be good physically and like go execute on that. And like it is such an all encompassing, we call it sport, hobby, lifestyle that, there's no reason that like when you're doing it, there's not really much for drawbacks, man. Maybe time missed at work, I would say, and like lost revenues. Yeah, that's a pretty good drawback on my end, but maybe you don't have to go quite as far as I did.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, hey, like if we just end the Fed and let's just like get rid of the IRS, then we wouldn't have to worry about this anyways, and we could actually truly hunt and live the way we're supposed to live.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But, that's on a different political podcast. So, anyways, we'll have to tune in for that one, guys.
Yeah, man. I try to stay in my lane with things I know about, and politics is one I try not to get too deep on.
Oh, I tell you, it's a lot of fun. It is so much fun because and I teach social studies. I was a PE teacher for the
Mhm.
longest time, and it just wasn't until, ironically, COVID that I had to start teaching online and be an online school teacher. And some of my classes were PE, but then I also had to teach social studies. And I
Mhm.
dove into it, and I was like, dude, what's the first number one thing on the Bill of Rights? Do you know, Jaden? I'm putting you on the spot.
Dude, this is the thing is like in order to become a citizen, you have to know this stuff. And I'm like over here like I don't have that memorized off the top of my head. And you're gonna say it, and I'm gonna be like, oh damn, no
Yeah,
shit. But
you know it. You just need me to say it. Freedom of
yeah,
speech,
okay, yeah.
right? The
First
ability,
Amendment, yeah.
the First Amendment, the ability to
I do
actually,
know the Second Amendment, just in case anyone's wondering.
you better. Let's go.
Yeah.
um, but freedom of speech, right? And so the ability to articulate is what makes mankind so special. With that being said, to be able to articulate, you need to have vocabulary. You need to know. Yeah, you need to have understanding. And that comes with, diving into topics. And a lot of people are like, oh, I hate politics. Like, it's because you don't know it,
Mhm.
right? Like, know something. Socrates, know thyself is the beginning of wisdom, right? So
Yeah.
get into something and things aren't as scary, such as if you want to learn how to hunt out west, go do it. It's not as
Yeah.
intimidating as it may seem.
Well, and it's this are you familiar with the Dunning-Kruger effect?
Tell me about it.
Okay. This is a thing that I witness often in all aspects of life. I see it a lot in hunting because it's like the category of which I'm working in, but in particular, this applies to like politics and can apply to any topic. I'm reading the AI overview.
Hmm.
The Dunning Kruger effect is a cognitive bias where people with low ability in a specific area overestimate their competence, while experts often underestimate theirs.
Ah, I didn't know that's what it's called, but I'm very familiar with that.
Yeah, and so one of the things that I strive effortless or like to the end of time to do is to not be at the peak Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yes.
Like, it is so easy to fall into when you catch just a sliver of information. You're like, oh, I know what's happening. But then as you like go further down this like rabbit hole of understanding a topic really deeply, you
Hmm.
realize that there's more to it. And then you realize like some might put me as like maybe you quote unquote call it the expert end of like this specific hunting topics.
Hmm.
And I'm over here like trying to learn every single dang day because I know there's no end to it. And I'm like, dude, there's something like thick timber hunting. Dude, I gotta shore that thing up. I gotta find more books on it. I gotta get better at it. Blah 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 blah. Like this is the thing when you become so deeply knowledgeable in a topic that you can understand the confidence gap that you have or like understand the knowledge gap you have, I think that's when you get dangerous. And in particular, I think when it comes to hunting, it's like getting enough information to go hunting is not incredibly difficult. There's so much information out there. I just also challenge folks to like if they go into hunting and maybe they find themselves with like successful pretty early on, it is probably a lot harder than that first success made it be, and you got to like keep diving, keep diving,
Yeah.
keep diving. Just like your bear example where you're like you're teaching dang seminars on bear hunting, and I've taught some people about bear hunting. I did bear plans last year. I didn't kill a bear for myself, and it's because like once you get deep into it, you're like, well, this ain't a layup every time.
Hmm.
There's more to learn.
You know what I love is we just went full circle, and it's a great wrap up to the podcast. Is the whole idea of mentorship is to teach others.
Mhm.
And as a school teacher, I know a student has reached a level of mastery when they can reteach to other people.
Absolutely.
And,
Yeah.
and so you're talking about, the Dunning-Kruger effect, and people overestimate their abilities when others view it as underestimating. But the crux of that and the equalizer, I guess, is really the best way to say it, is go teach someone else. It holds you accountable.
Yeah.
And it,
Yes. Dude, it's so funny you mentioned that because I'm a super nerd in a lot of topics, but in one of them is I built this AI bot, trained it on the hundreds and hundreds of hours of um, either content that I've spoken on or our meetings with clients, etc. And what I will go do is like I will go ask myself, like my AI bot, a question because I'm like, how would I answer this? Like I'm stuck. Like I'm not thinking outside the box. Like, how would I think about this? And it's been a really interesting cycle to get into because I think sometimes we get just so stuck in our own little, narrow focus on something we forget to look back bigger.
Yeah.
And I think that, like you said, to the point of mentorship and bringing people along, you can learn so much more about hunting by bringing people out there.
Yep.
Let me just tell you, like, I love myself a good backpack hunt, but guiding folks on hunts has made me get so dang creative with finding critters that aren't that far from a road or aren't that far from access.
Yeah.
And it's been one of the best teachers for me over the last few years because, until the point you're a mentor, if all you have is a hammer, all you see is a nail, and then when you realize, oh, this is going to take a screwdriver, we got to do something different, you figure out how that works.
Oh, totally. You're making me think I'd love to sign up for your service and apply my bear skills to what you would come up with. And then let's see the end of May, beginning of June, when I go to Idaho, how it turns out. Like, do we come up with the same stuff and then, put it into play? So thinking about diving down that road because I don't want to make sure that I rest on my laurels of, I got this. Got to keep sharpening.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. Gosh, and you probably know this off the top of your head, but my brother loves the saying, as iron sharpened iron, one man sharpens another.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
Out of the Bible, baby.
yeah, I love that idea. And as much as like you were saying, like I love helping people. But I oftentimes learn a lot from people that I'm working with too. It's super fun.
Yep. That's humility. That's out of the book of Proverbs, by the way. Proverbs 27:17. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful, baby.
My brother would be bummed that I forgot where that came out of. I'm sure it's in his Instagram profile, but
no worries, brother. Jaden, I've really enjoyed our time tonight, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Thanks for sharing your wisdom, your passion for hunting, passion for supporting others, right? God called us to love him and love man. And when you are investing your time, whether you're getting paid for a service or not, you're still getting an opportunity to love people. And you're creating a space for them to feel comfortable, to build confidence, and then to go send them off into the real world and to experience life on their own. And it's something that's very, very highly needs to be commended. And I'm proud of you.
Thank you, man. That makes me feel really good. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. So if you're loving this podcast, you're like, okay, how do I find Jaden and everything he's got? HuntWestPlanning.com. HuntWestPlanning.com, and even on that website, you can talk to Jaden's AI bot, and it should answer exactly how he would. So
it's weird how accurate it is. You can actually like call it like on a phone, and it's got my voice. It's creepy. I'm not so sure about where we're going with AI, but I figured I'd better learn how it works before somebody else takes it over for me. So
right, ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
All right, guys, remember that hunting has the power to transform lives through primal adventure and that you can never outgive good, as mentorship is conservation. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. Remember that if you want to see change in this world, then you got to be the change. It starts with you, and it only takes a spark to start a fire. And before you know it, this whole world is ablaze with people that love others and also love to hunt. So don't be afraid to ask them. You don't hunt? Why? Let's get it. Be blessed. For Johnny Mack and Jaden Bales here at Soul Seekers. Freedom on, everybody, and stay soulful. If you enjoyed today's podcast and want to support the show, you can always like, share, subscribe, and leave a rating, as it helps us share our mission of mentorship is conservation. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of Soul Seekers Nation as we transform lives through primal adventure.